So the session will include intro from me, talking about who's here from CSH. And then I will go over with my colleague Cara a little overview of study abroad and how our office works for the CSH students. Then we'll jump in and have Erin talk about her perspective about academic advisors. Then we'll have Professor Klimas jump in and talk about her overview as faculty of programs in CSH. And then we'll have Maya Mick give her point of view as a student who studied abroad, both term long and short term, for within our office. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers for everyone to kind of jump in and ask their questions and we'll answer for them. All right, so introduction. I am Dominique Brown, program manager in study abroad. I am the program manager for CSH, and so I help faculty within CSH create programs that are short-term to send students abroad, who help with creating programs for term-long students to be able to go abroad for a quarter or longer within our office. Then we have Erin Berkowitz, who's Director for Advising and Student Services within CSH. Then we have Professor Christy Klimas, who's the faculty member. She runs programs within CSH, both for CSH students, but also FY students, which are first year students. And then we have Maya Mick, who I mentioned earlier, who's an alumni who's in programs with our office also. Alrighty, so a brief overview of study abroad within CSH is we have programs that are short-term and term-long. Those programs are short-term are programs that run usually about 10 days to about 2.5 to 3 weeks within our office. And then we have the term-long programs that are usually a quarter or longer up to an academic year. The difference between a faculty-led program versus a non-faculty-led program basically is what it says. But to give you a better idea of what that means is faculty-led means that we have professors who teach a course here in Chicago before a program travels, and then the students together as a group travel together to a location about that program, and they spend about 10 to 2.5, 3 weeks on the ground immersing themselves within the culture. The way the programs typically work that are faculty-led are there's a pre-travel course, which is usually about 4 credits, and possibly another 4-credit course after the program that's after you come back from the location. And the programs typically run between the winter intersession, spring break, or summer. And the way those programs work is students would register for the courses for a winter intersession program in the fall quarter. Students who are doing a spring break program would register for their courses in the winter quarter. And students who are doing a program in the summer would do a spring quarter course. So yeah, that is a brief overview of how the faculty-led programs work. So I hand it over to my colleague, Cara, who will give you an idea of how term-long programs work in our office.
Thank you so much, Dominique. So yes, I work with students who are interested in going to partner schools overseas. And these students who are interested in maybe spending, 3 to 4 months abroad at a partner school, or even for an entire academic year. So we would, for a student who wants to go, you can go in the fall quarter, or you can travel abroad during the winter spring semester. It eats up kind of both of our quarters here at DePaul, or you can be abroad for the whole year. And we even have 1 term-long summer in Shanghai, and it's in the summer term. So you're abroad for 8 weeks in the summer. And so you would apply for a fall quarter program on February 1st is our application cycle. And then you would apply for a winter spring program on May 1st. And then you would apply for an academic year program also on February 1st. So I hope that helps a little bit. Thanks, Dominique.
Thank you. So to kind of briefly go over costs and kind of how study abroad works for students when paying for the program. The program fee for study abroad usually encompasses, for a short-term program, travel for the students, which would be their airfare, their lodging, group meals, any type of cultural activities that they do on the ground, for the program fee. This really is just the travel cost for students to go on a program abroad, versus the tuition, which is the actual cost for the course. The tuition for the program is lumped in as a part of your tuition bill. So there's no, unless you go over your 18 credit hours for as a student who's an undergrad, you would not have to pay any overages for tuition if you were to do a study abroad program. The only cost that you would have to pay would be the program fee over your beyond your tuition costs for a study abroad program. And any of your aid, whether that be grants or loans or scholarships, are covered by the program fee and also the tuition for study abroad. Okay. All right, so just to kind of give you an idea of how study abroad in general works in our office for students, we try to give students the opportunity to do programs that may not be tied directly to CSH uh, uh, curriculum if students are interested. So a student who's a CSA student could do a business program, or a program that's within LAS, or a program that's within CDM. And so the way we give students the option to do that is by giving them learning domains. And so all of our programs that are offered to undergraduate students have a learning domain tied to that. All of our programs fulfill the EL domain, which is the experiential learning domain. But on top of that, a lot of our programs fulfill the arts and literature domain, the social sciences, behavioral domain. So if a student is interested as a CSA student to do a program that's, let's say, within the business school or within the CDM school, you are more than welcome to fulfill learning domains for your torture college career by fulfilling those, by doing those programs instead of doing a CSH program. One other option is a modern language program. Now that is a bit different from learning domains. I actually would like to have my colleague Cara talk about the modern language option. I think she knows a bit more than I do about this.
Thanks so much. So the modern language option is really a way to help students if they want to study language at DePaul, but it's not necessarily going to be a major or a minor, and they might not have a lot of room in their schedule to take modern language. It's a way that you can take language courses and substitute those language courses for certain liberal studies learning domains. So let's say, you have a religious dimensions to fulfill, a philosophical inquiry to fulfill, an arts and literature. You can basically take, 1 year of language, 3 language courses. Let's say you've always wanted to study French, or have always wanted to study Japanese. You can take those courses and substitute out, or you can kind of take the credit as a liberal studies credit. So it's a really nice way to help students, get that language study in, and substitute out some liberal studies learning domains so that you can still graduate on time. I'm going to put a flyer for the modern language option in the chat function after this, so that you're welcome to download that flyer and take a look at it, and consider that maybe moving forward if you'd like to learn a language. Thanks.
Thanks, Cara. Do you want to talk more about scholarships also?
Yes, so sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
I was so focused on uploading the flyer, but I'll do that momentarily. So
Okay.
in terms of scholarships, yes, there are a number of scholarship opportunities that we want students to know about. The first is that when you apply for a DePaul sponsored study abroad program, you are automatically considered for a scholarship from our office, from the DePaul Study Abroad office. And these internal scholarships can range between $1,000 and $5,000, and they're awarded to students based on a combination of academic merit, so your GPA, and demonstrated financial need. So there are ways that we can help to fund students' experiences abroad and help to cover that additional program fee cost. I would also encourage students to look for external scholarships outside of DePaul. We have a website. When you go to studyabroad.depaul.edu and you click on the scholarships page, we have a whole list of outside scholarships. Some of these include the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship that is run by the U.S. Department of State. The State Department wants more students to engage in citizen diplomacy around the world, so they offer the Gilman Scholarship. There's a bunch to look for. And so you're going to want to look for scholarships based on criteria that are relevant to you. Any identities that you hold, what you're studying. There are scholarships you can find based on curricular area, based on destination, where you're going to, based on year in school, but even based on gender. There's scholarships out there for females in higher education. There's scholarships out there for, I found an organization called the Daughters of Italy, and I happen to be part Italian. And when I studied abroad many years ago, I was able to get the scholarship based on a part of my cultural heritage. So look for scholarships, that you might be eligible for. And I recommend that you apply to as many scholarships as you can to help fully fund your experience. So check out our website because there's a lot of really great information and links there. Thanks.
Thanks, Cara. So now I will turn it over to Erin. We'll talk a bit about how students within CSH can successfully study abroad during the career here at DePaul.
Okay. Thanks, Dominique. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Berkowitz, and I work in the College of Science and Health. And I think often we get the one question that oftentimes students ask is, I'm a science major, can I study abroad? And I think the answer to that question is yes. Depending on your major, depends on when in the academic year or when in the summer would be the best time to travel abroad and to study abroad. So my recommendation is to contact your academic advisor early. So if you're a first year or you're a sophomore on this call and you're thinking about studying abroad, but you may be looking more at something, say, junior year or even a little later, it's never too early to start that conversation with your academic advisor to really start to plan out when would be an ideal time to travel abroad. Just in general, I think BA Psych majors, your program is pretty flexible, and so really traveling abroad at any point in the academic year you can make work. If you're, say, majoring in math or physics, as you know, that curriculum is a little more prescripted in terms of what you take each year. So that for you, maybe doing a study abroad program sometime in the summer would be a great option. But again, like Dominique and Cara have mentioned, we have a number of short-term and long-term programs. So even if something longer term during the academic year may not work out, definitely look into some of these shorter term programs that you can easily do during the December session or spring break or even a short period of time over the summer. But absolutely, we have options for students who are in CSH. Another question that we often get is how does the process work? So as Cara and Dominique mentioned, a number of the faculty-led programs at DePaul have career learning domain designations or experiential learning. And so as a CSH student, you also take those same courses. And so, if you're participating in a faculty-led program, and you need, say, an arts and literature requirement or experiential learning, you can absolutely apply those study abroad courses to your DePaul degree. If those requirements have all been met, the study abroad courses would end up applying it in open electives. If you're looking at a non-faculty led program, say you found another program at another institution and you're working with DePaul in that respect, my advice is those credits would be treated the same way as if you were taking courses at any other institution and then transferring them back to DePaul. So if you find a non-faculty, DePaul faculty-led program that you're interested in pursuing, definitely contact your academic advisor early. Start that process for getting those courses reviewed and approved so that when you do travel abroad and you come back, you know exactly where those credits are applying in your DePaul degree. Another question, just are there credit limitations? And again, talk with your academic advisor. DePaul credit is DePaul credit, whether you take it on the Lincoln Park campus or you're studying abroad. So that's just something to keep in mind. And again, talk with your advisor if you do plan to do one of those non-faculty led DePaul programs. And then I think, specifically, I know Dr. Klimas will talk about this in another minute or two, but there are some excellent CSH faculty-led programs that have been running over the past few years. I think there are more than I could mention here on this call, but definitely talk with Study Abroad and your department if there's something that you're interested in. If you're, say, a bio major, Dr. Aguirre led a short-term abroad program to Ecuador about a year or two ago. Dr. McKay in Health Sciences led a short-term program to the Dominican Republic where students were studying child and maternal health and comparing the child and maternal health in the U.S. with Dominican Republic. Dr. Klimas has led a trip to Peru. Doctors Bystransky and Grice have led trips to Spain. So we have a lot of options, and definitely don't feel like you are limited simply because you're a science major, because that is certainly an untrue assumption. So definitely check out Study Abroad.
Erin, I'm so glad that you said that, because I think you're right. I think there's this myth, that it's harder for science students to go abroad, but we really do have some great program options for students, and I would recommend highly, our programs in Cork, Ireland, and in Australia for non-faculty led, for term-long programs. Students can absolutely take science courses there, biology, chem, psychology, and so I would definitely recommend those. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Erin, for that. Very, very helpful for our students who are here from CSH. So next we'll have Professor Klimas talk about some things that are important to students who are CSH students, and kind of talking about her experience as a program director with our programs, and some cool pictures that she's taken for some of her programs that she's taken students to Peru.
Great. So Erin did a really great job. Talking about some of the CSH program topics. So the Bio 104 is Dr. Aguirre's course, where you go to Ecuador and you actually go to the Galapagos. And so you can see evolution in action, because this is where really some of the most exciting work illustrating how you can see evolution during the lifetime of us in multiple lifetimes of individuals has been done. So that's a really great course, Bio 104 and Bio 183. The Spain course is a chemistry-focused course, but definitely not limited to chemistry majors. And then for the nursing program, there's also a program that goes to, I want to say the Czech Republic. Yeah, which is really, it's a phenomenal experience. It's one of our longest running CSH study abroad programs, and it is a really good practical experience for the students who attend. So there's a wide variety. I'll talk about some of the courses that I lead, but I also want to mention that you don't have to limit yourself to CSH study abroad programs. There's some programs that incorporate GIS and remote sensing in the Dominican Republic, and there's just a suite of courses that you can take. So now, what do you do on these courses? Well, I lead a course that looks at the impact of mining on the environment, and also how this mining affects those who engage in it and those who live in surrounding areas. And my co-leader, Dr. Rose Spalding, also looked at the political systems under which mining occurs. So this was a really great cross-disciplinary course. You can see that on the right-hand side, that's actually equipment for mining. You put a carpet on there, and then you dump water from the riverbed that has flakes of gold in it, and the flakes of gold get caught in the carpet. And then you take that carpet and you dump it in water with mercury, and the gold actually amalgamates or sticks together in clumps, and then you burn that mercury off, and it's released into the environment. Then any excess water is dumped into the environment as well. So you can see that there's environmental impacts, human health impacts, and much of this is driven by a lack of economic alternatives, right? So there's a lot of issues this course touches on. On the more positive side, on the left-hand side, you can see a scientific organization on the ground that's working to reforest some of these previously mined areas. And so we visit a lot of organizations that are really doing the hard work necessary to try to find a balance between economics and the environment in some of these areas. And we talk with a lot of people. So here we're actually in the high desert of Arequipa in Peru, and we're looking at a massive mining operation. So the pit behind us is about the depth of the Grand Canyon. And we sort of talk with the miners. It's done in a desert. It's probably one of the best practice mines in the world, and yet still the scale of this is pretty massive. This is a copper mine. We also listen to people. So we met with representatives from indigenous organizations working on the ground to protect the rainforest. We walked through muddy fields in the rainforest, and we visited the Tambopata Nature Preserve. You'll see canoes, I think, on one of the next slides. And we listened to lectures by experts who are working in forest restoration, mercury studies, and a variety of other topics. So we do everything from field visits to lectures in classrooms while we're on site. Here you can see, this is the entrance to the Tambopata Nature Preserve, where students saw a bushmaster snake, the world's largest venomous snake. And they also tromped through a very wet, rainy forest. And then we have a lot of fun as well. So these are all illustrations of students just hanging out together and things like that. These are very much bonding experiences for the students who attend. So this is well worth it if you're interested, both from an academic perspective, as well as a great way to develop connections with other DePaul students. And then how is the pre-travel course administered? Oftentimes both faculty will teach part of the course before you go, but it's not actually, you don't meet as often as you would a regular course. And then after the fact, sometimes you then have, contact hours after the course, you go out for dinner, you do things like that. But oftentimes there's a research paper associated, at least in the study abroads that I've led, where your culminating experience, whether it's a research-based paper or poster presentation or something like that, occurs after you've been on the ground and learned some of the material from that experience. And then I think, yep. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Please feel free to reach out to me via email if you have questions about this. And the only other thing I want to mention is that there's also first-year abroad programs. So for first-year students interested in doing a study abroad, you can take a focal point course that's tied to an abroad. If you're in the honors program, then there are various honors approved study abroad courses. You would enroll in the honors version of that course. And then you would take a 2-credit travel course. And that travel course would then be a 10-day abroad trip. So for that, I actually don't take students to the Amazon in Peru, but we do go to Machu Picchu, and we also meet and talk with artisans who make some of the things that we purchase in a global economy. And now I'm going to turn it over to Maya, who's an expert in the in-person experience.
Okay, disclaimer, we are getting our windows redone, so if you hear any sound in the background, my apologies. I can't escape it. My name is Maya Mick. I am a senior at DePaul. I study environmental studies and French with a minor in theater. So I did 2 programs with study abroad. I did the first year travel literature program, the 10-day program during spring break in Ireland. And I also did a year-long study abroad my junior year. I just got back in March to Australia, where I was in Melbourne. So that was super exciting. I love talking about this, so I'm so excited to share more. How did I decide on my program? So I will talk about my year-long program because I feel like that is more relevant towards my future and my goals. So I have always been fascinated with Australian wildlife. I grew up watching Steve Irwin, you know, Steve the crocodile hunter, and his passion for animals and the environment planted a seed in me to, you know, dedicate my life to the environment and especially towards wildlife conservation. So that's how I basically chose studying environmental studies at DePaul. And I didn't think that anything could be better than studying the natural world in the place that made me fall in love with it. So I took some really cool courses. I took a hiking class that took us out to the bush in Australia. And, you know, we saw wild wallabies that joined us for breakfast, which was so cool. Koalas in the trees, just beautiful, pristine nature that we spent weeks hiking in, which was so cool. And before I was sent home in March, I spent a couple weeks taking an aquatic environments course where we got to do some sailing, some snorkeling, some kayaking, so all the cool stuff. So that's kind of 2 and 3 together. So question number 4, some advice I have for everyone. I would say definitely thoroughly research the city that you will be living in. You know, the location that you will be staying, the grocery stores nearby, you know, how far away your school is, the transportation, you know, to and from the school. There are a lot of customs that can be different from your home country, so I definitely recommend looking into those. Along with that, I'd also say to look into the resources that your host university provides, whether it be mental health support or extracurricular activities or clubs or anything like that, tutoring even, because I feel like, you know, moving to a new country is a very exciting experience, but it can also be stressful and a lot of things can be thrown at you. So taking these steps beforehand will definitely assist in warming you up to your new culture.